Captain Maria Santos stared at watching the swirling purple clouds of the Veil Nebula pulse with strange energy. Her fingers drummed against the armrest of her command chair, a habit she'd never managed to break despite 20 years in space. "Those readings can't be right," she said, leaning forward. "Run the scan again." Lieutenant worked his console with practiced efficiency. His dark eyes reflected the glow of his screens as numbers cascaded across them. "Same results, Captain. There's a massive energy signature coming from inside the nebula. It's like nothing in our database." The bridge of the Wanderer's promise fell quiet. All 8 crew members knew what that purple cloud represented. Every child in the galaxy learned about forbidden space before they learned to read. No one went there. No one even talked about going there. "Captain Santos." The voice came from the back of the bridge, formal and clicking with the distinctive accent of the people. Their council liaison officer stepped forward. His gray skin had turned pale and his 3 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep distress among his kind. "You cannot be considering this." Maria turned to face him. "Considering what? We're just looking at sensor data." "I have served with humans for 3 years now," said, his mandibles clicking nervously. "I recognize that tone, that look. You wish to investigate." "It's our job to investigate anomalies." "Not that anomaly." His voice rose, something rare for his usually calm species. "The Forbidden Space Treaty is the oldest law in the galaxy. 50,000 years, Captain. 50,000 years of peace because everyone respects the boundary." Maria stood and walked to her boots silent on the deck plating. "Tell me something. In all those 50,000 years, has anyone ever explained why it's forbidden?" "Because it is dangerous." "That's not an explanation. That's just another way of saying forbidden." She turned back to her crew. "What do we actually know?" Skin darkened with frustration. "We know that 17 civilizations have been destroyed for approaching the boundary. We know that the Council's most sacred law protects this space. We know that even our warships refuse to cross the line." "You know what I hear?" Maria crossed her arms. "I hear that people are afraid of something they don't understand. That's not good enough for me." "Captain, please," moved closer, his voice dropping to barely a whisper. "I have seen the records. My people, we were the 9th civilization to approach forbidden space. We sent 3 colony ships. They crossed the boundary. None returned. The Council quarantined for 50 years as punishment. 50 years, Captain. My grandmother was born during the quarantine. She died having never seen the stars." The bridge remained silent. Even Maria felt the weight of that history, but then Lieutenant spoke up. "Captain, I've been running historical analysis on those 17 destroyed civilizations." He pulled up data on his screen. "There's no evidence they were actually destroyed. They just disappeared. The records say they were destroyed, but there are no debris fields, no wreckage, no bodies. They just vanished after entering forbidden space." "What are you suggesting?" asked. Shrugged. "Maybe they found something. Maybe they didn't want to come back." "That is insane," said flatly. "Is it?" Maria returned to her chair. "Think about it. If something in there killed them, we'd have found evidence, debris, radiation, something. But there's nothing, just silence." "The silence itself is the warning," insisted. Maria looked around at her crew. "I'm going to call for a vote. That's how we do things on human ships. Everyone gets a say." She met each person's eyes in turn. "We can turn around, file a report, and let someone else worry about this. Or we can do our jobs as explorers and investigate. Show of hands for investigating." His hand went up immediately. Then Engineer, grinning like this was the best day of his life. Dr. Sarah, the ship's medical officer, raised hers after a moment's hesitation. One by one, every human hand rose. Stared at them. "You are all mad, every single one of you." "Probably," Maria agreed. "But we're also really curious. You can note your objection in the log. For the record, you advised against this course of action, and we ignored you." That will not save you when the Council learns of this. Maybe not, but at least we'll know what's in there. Maria settled into her chair. Mister, plot a course into the nebula, nice and slow. I want full sensor sweeps every 100 kilometers. Aye, Captain, said, his fingers flying across his console. Course plotted. We'll cross the boundary in 10 minutes. Those 10 minutes felt like hours. The crew worked in tense silence, checking and rechecking their systems. Maria watched the boundary line appear on her navigation display, a bright red line that had held back galactic civilization for. Captain, I'm detecting multiple ships converging on our position, announced. Council vessels, 6 different species. They're forming a blockade along the boundary. Are they hailing us? Yes, ma'am. It's Fleet Commander Horn of the Navy. On screen. The shifted to show a reptilian face with golden scales and vertical pupils. Fleet Commander Horn looked ancient, and his voice rumbled like distant thunder. Human vessel Wanderer's promise, you are approaching forbidden space. Alter your course immediately. Commander, this is Captain Santos. We've detected an energy anomaly that requires investigation. There is nothing in forbidden space that requires investigation. There is only death. Have you been inside? The question seemed to catch Horn off guard. His pupils dilated. No, no one has. Then how do you know? Because the law is absolute. Turn back, Captain Santos. I do not wish to see another species face the Council's punishment. We appreciate your concern, Commander, but humanity never signed the Forbidden Space Treaty. Technically, we're not bound by it. Horn's scales rippled with anger. A technicality will not protect you from what lies beyond that boundary. Maybe not, but it means you can't stop us legally. Maria nodded to, we're going in. The Wanderer's promise surged forward. Maria watched the Council ships hold their position, not following. She saw Horn's face twist with what might have been pity or fear or both before the signal cut out. We've crossed the boundary, announced quietly. The bridge crew waited. Nothing happened. The ship didn't explode. No ancient weapons fired. The stars looked the same as they did on the other side of an imaginary line. Well said, breaking the tension. That was anticlimactic. Stay alert, Maria warned. Something made 17 civilizations disappear. Just because we're not dead yet doesn't mean we're safe. They pressed deeper into the nebula. The purple clouds grew thicker, limiting their visual range but providing plenty of data for their sensors. Worked his station constantly, cataloging everything they encountered. Captain, I'm picking up structures ahead, he said suddenly. Artificial structures, big ones. Maria stood on screen. The purple clouds parted, and everyone on the bridge gasped. Floating in the void were ruins. Not just buildings or stations, but entire cities suspended in space. Towers that stretched for kilometers. Platforms the size of moons. Architecture that logic, with impossible angles and surfaces that seemed to shift when you weren't looking directly at them. My God, Doctor whispered, how old is this? Scanning now, said, his voice shaking slightly. Captain, the decay pattern suggests these structures are at least 100,000 years old, maybe older. That predates the Council, Maria said. That predates every known civilization. Except one, said quietly. Everyone turned to look at him. The precursors, the first builders, every species has legends of them. The ones who came before, we thought they were myths. They're not myths, Maria said, staring at the impossible city. They're real, and the Council has been hiding them. Why, Doctor asked, why keep this secret? I don't know, but we're going to find out. Maria turned to, take us closer. I want to dock with that central structure. As they approached, something activated. Lights flickered to life across the ruins, following their path. The city was waking up after 100,000 years of sleep. Captain, I'm detecting power surges throughout the structure, reported. Whatever this place is, it's responding to our presence. They found a docking port, surprisingly compatible with their ship systems. Maria suited up with and Doctor, leaving in command, insisted on joining them, though his skin had turned pale gray with fear. The airlock cycled and they stepped into the ancient station. The air was breathable. The lights brightened as they walked, creating a path. "Someone wants us to follow," observed. They did. The corridors were vast, built for beings much larger than humans. Holographic displays flickered to life as they passed, showing images they couldn't quite understand. Mathematical formulas, star charts, biological diagrams. Finally, they reached a central chamber. A massive holographic projector dominated the room. It activated as they entered, and suddenly they were surrounded by images. A species they'd never seen, tall and graceful, with 4 arms and faces that reminded Maria of dolphins. The precursors. The hologram began to play a message. It showed the precursors building their civilization, exploring, learning, growing. Then it showed something else. A map of the galaxy with one section highlighted, the region where the Council now ruled. The hologram showed the precursors discovering something about this region of space. They ran tests, experiments, and slowly a terrible truth emerged. This region of space, through some quirk of physics they couldn't quite illustrate, suppressed certain types of behavior: risk-taking, innovation, aggressive curiosity. The precursors had discovered that species living in this region for generations would gradually lose their drive to explore and question. They would become peaceful, yes, stable, certainly, but also stagnant, unable to push boundaries or challenge assumptions. The hologram showed the precursors' choice. They could stay and gradually lose what made them who they were, or they could leave, heading for truly free space. They chose to leave. "That's why the Council sealed this place," Maria breathed. "If anyone knew the truth, they'd realize their entire civilization is built on a cosmic accident. They're not enlightened. They're just affected." "And humans?" asked quietly. "We evolved outside this region. We only got FTL travel a century ago. We're not adapted to the effect." Maria looked at her. "That's why we seem crazy to you. Why we take risks you think are insane. We're not affected by whatever field exists here." Alarms suddenly blared throughout the ancient station. The hologram shifted, showing a new image. Something was activating, something huge. "Captain, we need to leave," said urgently. "Now." They ran back to the ship, the station's alarms following them. As they undocked, his face appeared on their helmet displays, and his voice was tight with panic. "Captain, we've got a problem, a big one. Something just powered up in the ruins. I'm reading it as a dreadnought, and it's targeting us." Maria climbed onto the bridge to see a massive ship, easily 100 times their size, emerging from where it had hidden among the ruins. Weapons powered up along its hull, each one capable of vaporizing their ship in a single shot. "Evasive maneuvers," she ordered. "Get us out of here." The Wanderer's promise dove between ancient towers as the dreadnought opened fire. Energy beams carved through space where they'd been moments before. The ship shook as a near-miss sent debris slamming into their hull. "It's locked on," shouted. "I can't shake it." Maria gripped her chair as another blast rocked the ship. They'd come looking for answers and found them, but now they had to survive long enough to tell anyone what they'd learned. The ancient dreadnought bore down on them, and Maria knew their little exploration ship couldn't outrun it forever. She'd led her crew into forbidden space, and now she had to find a way to get them out alive. "Captain, it's charging weapons again," reported. "This one's going to hit us." Maria stared at the pursuing warship and made a decision. "All power to engines. Random, evasive pattern. Don't try to be smart, be chaotic. That thing is probably programmed to predict logical behavior." "What if that doesn't work?" Doctor asked. "Then at least we tried." Maria allowed herself a small smile. "Besides, when has being logical ever been humanity's strong suit?" The dreadnought fired, and the Wanderer's promise jerked sideways in a maneuver that made no tactical sense. The beam missed by meters. They were still alive, for now. The hunt through forbidden space had only just begun, and Maria knew the hardest part was still ahead of them. They had to escape, had to bring this knowledge back to the galaxy, had to tell the truth that the Council had hidden for 50,000 years. But first, they had to survive the next 5 minutes. The ship shook again as another blast came too close. Maria watched the ruins flash past on and realized something. The dreadnought hadn't killed them yet. It had plenty of opportunities, but every shot had missed. It wasn't trying to destroy them. It was trying to drive them somewhere. The question was where and why. She was about to find out. Maria watched the dreadnought's pattern and realized something crucial. "It's hurting us," she said aloud. "Where's it pushing us?" His fingers danced across his console, plotting their forced trajectory. "Deeper into the ruins, Captain. There's a massive structure ahead. Looks like some kind of central hub." "Why would it want us there?" "Maybe it wants to trap us," suggested, fighting with the controls as another blast forced them to bank hard to port. "Or maybe it wants to show us something," Maria countered. The idea was insane, but everything about this situation was insane. "Stop evading. Head straight for that hub." "Captain," his voice rose an octave. "Trust me, if it wanted us dead, we'd be dead. That thing has fired 50 shots and hasn't hit us once. Either it has terrible aim or it's not really trying." Looked at her like she'd lost her mind but adjusted course. The Wanderer's promise flew straight toward the central hub, and the dreadnought's weapons went silent. It followed at a distance, waiting. The hub was enormous, a sphere the size of a small moon with thousands of docking ports. One port lit up with green lights, clearly marking where they should go. Maria nodded to who guided the ship in. As they docked, the dreadnought took up a position nearby, hovering like a guardian, or a jailer. Maria wasn't sure which. "What now?" Doctor asked. "Now we go see what it wants to show us." Maria stood. "Full away team this time. If this is a trap, we face it together." The crew armed themselves. Though Maria doubted their small weapons would do much against technology 100,000 years more advanced than theirs. They cycled through the airlock into a corridor that made the previous station look tiny. Holographic arrows appeared, creating a path. They followed it through chambers filled with dormant technology and empty halls that echoed with their footsteps. Finally, they reached a room that took Maria's breath away. It was a library, a vast archive of holographic data, thousands of years of precursor knowledge floating in streams of light. And at the center, a new hologram activated. A precursor appeared, but this one spoke. The ship's translator struggled with the ancient language, but the meaning came through. "If you are seeing this, you have entered forbidden space despite the warnings. You have awakened our guardians. This means one of two things. Either you are fools who will soon be dead, or you are a species with the curiosity and courage to seek truth no matter the cost. Our analysis systems will determine which." The hologram gestured, and suddenly the crew's vital signs appeared in the air. Brain activity, hormone levels, genetic markers. The hologram studied them with an expression Maria couldn't quite read. "Fascinating," the precursor said. "You are unaffected. Your species evolved outside the stagnation field. You retain the drive to explore, to question, to push against boundaries. In this, you are like us, like we were before we left." "The stagnation field," repeated. "The effect on this region of space. You're confirming it's real." "It is quite real," the hologram replied, turning to address the directly. "Your species has lived within the field for 300,000 years. It has shaped your evolution, your culture, your very thoughts. You are peaceful, stable, content, and utterly unable to truly grow." Skin turned nearly white. "That's not possible. We have advanced. We've built the council. We've maintained peace for 50,000 years." You have maintained stagnation, the hologram corrected gently. You have refined what you already knew. You have not discovered anything fundamentally new in 40,000 years. You iterate. You do not innovate. That's a harsh judgment, Maria said. Peace has value. Peace has immense value, the hologram agreed. But peace built on suppression of curiosity is not peace. It is merely the absence of the energy required for conflict. Your council knows this. The founders discovered our archives. They learned the truth, and they sealed this place because the truth threatened their power. New holograms appeared, showing council founders discovering the precursor ruins, watching these same recordings, making a choice. They couldn't destroy the evidence, the technology was too far beyond them, so they forbade anyone from entering. They created the Forbidden Space Treaty and enforced it with such severity that no one would dare question it. The 17 civilizations that disappeared, Maria said. What happened to them? They learned the truth. Some chose to leave following our path to free space. Others tried to return and share what they'd learned. The Council destroyed those who tried to return, completely, utterly, as a warning to others. The crew stood in stunned silence. Doctor finally spoke, her voice barely a whisper. That's genocide. The Council committed genocide to protect a lie. Multiple times, the hologram confirmed. Your species is the 18th to reach this place. You are the first in 30,000 years. Why help us? Maria asked. Why show us all this? Because our Guardian's analysis is complete. You are not fools. You are potential heirs to our legacy. We left this place as a test, a trap for the stagnant, a gift for those who retain the spark of true curiosity. The hologram smiled. You passed. The question is, what will you do with this knowledge? Had been quiet, exploring the room while the others talked. Now he approached a small pedestal with a glowing device on it. Captain, you should see this. Maria walked over. The device was small, maybe the size of her palm, covered in symbols that seemed to shift and change. What is it? I don't know, but when I got close I felt something, like it was calling to me. Reached out hesitantly. Should I? I wouldn't recommend, started to say, but had already touched it. The device flashed and merged with his hand, disappearing into his skin. He gasped, his eyes going wide. Oh wow. Doctor rushed to him, scanner out. Are you okay? I'm fine, better than fine, I can feel it, the device. It's showing me things, paths, safe routes through space, it's a navigation key. Looked at Maria with wonder in his eyes. Captain, I can guide us anywhere in this region. Through dangers we can't even detect normally. The precursors mapped everything. That's exactly the kind of impulsive human behavior that's going to get you killed, said, but there was less conviction in his voice now. Or it's the kind of behavior that lets us survive what's coming, Maria replied. She turned to the hologram. There are more Guardians, aren't there? That dreadnought isn't alone. There are 300 automated warships protecting this archive. They were programmed to destroy any who entered with hostile intent or those too stagnant to appreciate what they found. They were also programmed to aid any who showed true curiosity and courage. You showed both. They will allow you to leave. And then what? We go back to Council space and tell them we violated their most sacred law. They'll destroy Earth. They'll hunt down every human in the galaxy. Perhaps, the hologram said, or perhaps you will do what 17 other species could not. Perhaps you will reveal the truth in a way that cannot be suppressed. Perhaps you will be the catalyst that ends 50,000 years of stagnation. Maria looked at her crew, appeared determined. Doctor looked frightened but resolute, was still marveling at his new abilities. Even, despite his earlier protests, looked like something had changed in him. Learning that his entire civilization was built on a lie had shaken him to his core. We have to try, Maria decided. We have to bring this knowledge back. The galaxy deserves the truth. Then you should leave now, the hologram said. The Council's fleet is gathering at the boundary. They expect you to try to escape. They will fire on you the moment you cross back into their space. How many ships? 300 vessels from 15 different species, the largest mobilization in 1,000 years. Whistled low. They really don't want this getting out. We need proof, Maria said. Something we can broadcast that they can't suppress or deny. Take the device now carries, the hologram suggested. It contains a complete copy of our archives, everything we discovered about the stagnation field, all our research, the entire history of how the Council found and suppressed this knowledge. But be warned, once you broadcast that information, there is no going back. The galaxy will change, one way or another. Maria nodded slowly. Sometimes change is necessary, even painful change. We'll do it. Then go, the hologram said. And remember, true courage is not the absence of fear. It is moving forward despite fear, because the alternative is to let falsehood triumph. The Council has ruled through fear for 50,000 years. Perhaps it is time for truth to have its turn. The hologram faded, leaving them in the vast library. Maria took one last look around, memorizing the site. Then she led her crew back to the ship. As they undocked, the 300 precursor warships activated throughout the ruins. They moved to escort positions around the Wanderer's promise, forming a protective formation. I guess we're not going alone, said. No, Maria agreed, we're not. The fleet moved toward the boundary. As they flew, worked on preparing the data for broadcast. Everything they'd learned, compressed into a format that could be transmitted across the entire galactic communication network simultaneously. It would reach every inhabited world, every ship, every station in Council space within minutes. Stood beside Maria's chair, watching the boundary approach. My people will never forgive me for this, he said quietly. Maybe not, but their children might thank you. If we survive. There's that too. The purple clouds of the nebula thinned. Ahead the boundary glowed on their sensors, and beyond it the Council fleet waited. 300 ships in battle formation, weapons charged, ready to fire. Captain, they're hailing us, reported. On screen. Fleet Commander Horn appeared again, but this time he wasn't alone. Representatives from every major Council species crowded the screen behind him. The Yeks, all of them. Captain Santos, Horn said, his voice cold. You have violated the Forbidden Space Treaty. Surrender your ship and we will be lenient. Resist, and we will destroy you and quarantine you for a century. This is your only warning. Maria stood. Commander, we can't surrender. We've discovered something that changes everything. Something the Council has hidden for 50,000 years. There is nothing in forbidden space but death and lies, a representative said, her three mouths speaking in harmony. Whatever you think you found, it is deception. Is it? Maria signaled, who transmitted sample images of the precursor archives. Then explain these. Explain technology that predates every Council species. Explain records showing the Council founders making a deliberate choice to hide this place. The representatives reacted with shock. Some began arguing among themselves, but Horn held up a clawed hand for silence. It doesn't matter what you found, he said. The law is absolute. You will surrender or you will die. Choose now. Maria looked at her crew, nodded. Doctor took a deep breath and nodded, grinned and gave a thumbs up. Even after a long moment, nodded once. We choose option 3, Maria said. We tell everyone the truth. She nodded too, who initiated the broadcast. Every piece of data they'd gathered, every holographic recording, every scrap of proof about the stagnation field and the Council's lies, transmitted simultaneously to every receiver in Council space. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the Council fleet erupted into chaos. Ships began receiving the data. Crews watched the recordings. The truth spread like wildfire through their communication networks. Fire, Horn roared. Fire now before this spreads further. But it was too late. Some ships fired. Others held position, their crews arguing. The unified front of the Council fleet fractured in seconds. Ships from 3 different species broke formation entirely, refusing to follow orders. The 300 precursor warships surged forward, interposing themselves between the Wanderer's promise and the Council fleet. They didn't fire, but their weapons powered up in clear warning. Ancient technology faced modern weapons, and everyone present knew which would win. "Stand down," a new voice said across all frequencies. It was one of the council members who'd broken formation, a named Ara. "Stand down immediately. We need answers before we fire on anyone. These revelations, if true, change everything." "They are not true," Horn insisted. "They are lies designed to undermine the council." "Then let us investigate. Let us send representatives to verify or disprove these claims. But we will not fire on a ship for revealing what might be the greatest discovery in galactic history." More ships declared their support for Ara's position. The Council fleet, assembled to destroy the humans, instead tore itself apart arguing about the truth. Maria watched it all unfold and felt something she hadn't expected. Not triumph, not fear, just a quiet satisfaction that they'd asked the right questions. "Captain," said quietly, "we're receiving a message. It's from Earth. They want to know what the hell we just did." Maria laughed, a sound of pure relief. "Tell them we did what humans do best. We saw a rule that didn't make sense and we broke it. We found a question nobody was asking and we demanded an answer. And we proved that sometimes the most dangerous thing in the galaxy isn't weapons or wars. It's comfortable ignorance." The standoff at the boundary continued, but Maria knew the real battle was already over. The truth was out. The galaxy would never be the same. "Set course for Earth," she ordered. "I think we have a lot of explaining to do." As the Wanderer's promise turned toward home, escorted by ancient warships and followed by allies they'd made in the heart of the Council fleet, Maria Santos allowed herself to relax for the first time in days. They'd walked into forbidden space. They'd learned secrets that toppled empires. They'd survived impossible odds, and they'd done it all by refusing to accept that some questions shouldn't be asked. That was humanity. That was their gift to the galaxy. The stubborn, reckless, wonderful refusal to leave well enough alone. And if the rest of the galaxy didn't like it, well, they'd just have to get used to it. Because now that humans had shown what was possible, there was no going back to the comfortable stagnation of the past. The future had arrived, dragged kicking and screaming into the light by a species too curious for their own good. And for better or worse, the galaxy was going to have to figure out what to do with it.